Hey everyone, this is David at Finish Line Factory. So now, if you follow the channel, you'll notice that I actually got rid of my 240SX. I had a fully built 240SX, rods, cams, pistons, like the works. I actually built the car intending it to be a competitive race car. I just never got around to actually putting the roll cage into it. I actually enjoyed driving it a whole lot on the street, so I kind of converted it back to a street car. I put in softer suspension and all that. Put it back in the radio. And so what ended up happening, the engine basically spun a bearing, and that means is that the bearing shell that's inside of the rod that prevents the rod from touching the crankshaft, that lost its oil pressure, and the motor it spun around and damaged basically the entire engine, or primarily the rod bearings, which is probably one of the most important parts of your engine. So I parted it out, and I have already purchased my new project car. So now I've actually had this car for a couple of months, so I know you guys might have seen it a couple of times on the YouTube channel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a full, bumper to bumper, in-depth review and formally introduce the car. So without any further ado, my new project car is a Mazda Miata that I bought for $1,000. So yes, I actually did buy this car for $1,000. This is a 2002 Mazda Miata, and the keen observer will note that the front end doesn't match that of a 2002 Mazda Miata, because Mazda updated this front end in 2001. So what ended up happening, the previous owner of the car got into an accident, right, and bought some used parts, but couldn't afford the correct parts, or was it just a complete idiot, and bought the parts from a 1999 Miata. And I actually know the guy that he bought the parts from to confirm this. The seller was really shady, and just, he claims he never got the car into an accident, but the radiator support is bent, and I'll show this to you guys pretty soon. And it's clearly obvious that the car's been in an accident. I even confirmed it with confirmed the previous owner with the guy that sold him the parts. So, come on, there's no hiding from Dave. So anyway, it doesn't really matter because the parts bolt right on. The only thing that's different is the bumper, the headlights, and the hood. So, whatever. Now, the whole car, if you notice, has like a matte finish to it. That's because the entire car has been, and may I say, poorly plastid-dipped. I'm okay with the color. I think the flat blue is different. It looks kind of cool. But the problem is that it's kind of plastic dipped in poor taste, because the factory color is this beautiful and very rare. Here, I peeled it off the mirror for you guys. Crystal blue metallic. Like, that's a nice color. I mean, look at this. Let me show you this. This is a nice color, and I can't believe that the previous owner just plastic dipped over it. Like, what the hell, But whatever. I did peel the plastic dip off of the hood because I wanted to see how bad it was. And what confuses me, I don't know why the hood was sanded. You can clearly see here, it almost looks like it was gone over with like a DA or like a wet sander or something. And yeah, like, it's kind of weird because you wouldn't need to wet sand if you're going to plastic dip, because the plastic dip will stick to a glossy finish just fine. As a matter of fact, the sanding marks actually made it more difficult to remove the plastic dip from the hood because of the additional adherence that it had. So whatever, moving on. It does have 17-inch TSW wheels, which are rather gargantuan for a Miata. Typically people put on 15 or 16-inch wheels, but it doesn't look bad. It looks okay, The top is also completely covered in duct tape. Look at this, on the front edge here, it's from edge to edge. There is some lifting right here covering up a hole. So it needs a new top. $500, not a big deal. Right here, it's also got a nice patch of duct tape. That's Gorilla Tape. So that's some pretty good stuff. It doesn't leak. And you can see here, I don't think he bothered to tape anything off because it's just there's overspray everywhere with the plastic dip. But hey, you know what? It was $1,000. Send it. So let's move on to the next segment. Let's take a look at the under the hood. There's actually a couple of nice goodies there. So pop that, and I'll show you guys the bent radiator support. So right there. Let me use my noggin. Get the hood prop up. Can't find the hole. All right, got it. Okay, and there you go. So what I like is that the valve cover has been repainted. It looks like it was painted red, and it looks like it was actually removed to be painted. However, I think they reused the valve cover gasket because this is now leaking. But what is nice, we do have something nice. We have a K&N Typhoon intake, which has a scratch. No, it's just some dirt. We have a K&N Typhoon intake and Racing Beat headers. So that's actually kind of nice. And because this is an NB2, it has the VVT motor, which means that it's a 1.8 liter 4-cylinder engine, making about 142 horsepower, I think. And it has VVT, so you get better torque down low. And you got 10-to-1 compression, so you get a little bit more power through the power band. Now, we were talking about the radiator support. This is bent. Like, this should be like lined up perfectly, and it's clearly, obviously bent. Like, come on. I don't know what the deal is. I think maybe he hit a pole, which is what the damage kind of suggests. The hood wouldn't close properly, so to make it close, I kind of had to finagle this a little bit, and then eventually I decided on simply stacking some washers here to space out this, the latch, so it'll hit the striker and actually close. But whatever, you know, you got to work with what you got. Other than that, it's a fairly clean engine bay. It does have cruise control, which is nice. And yeah, so let's go ahead and drop the hood. It's dropped, and if you notice, I can't actually close it. So in order to close it, I actually have to sit on it, and now it's closed. So, you know, there you go. But hey, you know what? It was $1,000, so whatever. Oh, just before I take you guys into the interior, just want to check out the trunk space. It's not much, you know. You have enough space for a helmet, some Whole Foods empty bags, a towel, camera bag, no problems there. So you could probably fit a couple of duffel bags in here, maybe a set of golf clubs maybe. But don't expect to be taking any long-term vacations with this thing. All right, let's jump into the interior. So the interior is actually fairly clean, and what I actually like about this is that despite the fact that it was $1,000 and kind of looks like junk, the drive line is actually very good. There's very little slop in the, well, there's quite a bit of slop in the shifter, but it's whatever. It shifts fine, it drives fine, it accelerates fine. It's a good car. It's just, you know, it just looks terrible. But the interior is surprisingly clean. So the only blemishes that I've found, this webbing here kind of has like this kind of, I don't know, kind of webbing. This is coming apart. That's pretty common. Let's go ahead and step inside. And this should have a spring on it, but it's just kind of floppy. And there's a little, I don't know how this happened. I mean, you know, whatever. So, got the key right here. I'll just stick that in. There we go. Yeah, we got some normal stuff. It's actually surprisingly comfortable. I mean, I'm a big guy. I am 240 pounds, about 5'10", and I fit just fine, you know. So the NB Miata moved away from the in headrest speakers of the NA Miata, and they switched to the door speakers there, which is actually better. It gives you better sound quality. Let's see, you got your signal stock, light stock there, cruise control. This car does have cruise control, light switch, dim fog lights, which this car no longer has because the previous owner's an idiot. Wiper, this is your cruise control, accelerate and decelerate. The radio, which does not work, but you do have a nice cubby hole for your phone. The window switches are in the middle. This car does have power locks, but they don't work. So if you see here, you see it barely moves, but it does move on the passenger side, so whatever. We have AC controls. It only blows on full cold. I've tried different things. I think the blend door actuator or something must be broken. But this works, so that's nice. The recirculate does work. However, it only blows on full cold, and it doesn't blow hot at all. So, you know, not a big deal. Got your glove box right there. And you have a center console right here. So, something else that's kind of funky. The cigarette lighter doesn't work, so I have to carry around a small battery pack for charging my phone. It's not that big a deal, but it is a little inconvenient. So, yeah, let's take it for a drive. Oh yeah, one thing I forgot to mention. So the handbrake doesn't work. Thankfully I'm not on an incline. But if you look under the car, there is no exhaust. There should be a large can there for the exhaust, and there's just nothing. If you look real close, you see right there? That's the exhaust, that's the pipe. So I looked under the car, the mounts were broken. So what it looks like to me is that the previous owner, instead of fixing it after the mounts broke, just cut it off, unbolted the exhaust, and then just tossed it away, instead of actually fixing the exhaust or even getting an aftermarket exhaust. So, yeah, that's what I got to deal with. All right, so driving Mazda Miata. Get some lights on. Take it for a little spin. So I will say this. This is, without a doubt, one of the most fun cars that I've ever driven. So I bought this car on November 29th of 2018, right? However, I didn't actually drive it around until mid-January because I was waiting until the Mustang's lease was over before I registered an additional car onto my policy. So Mustang lease ended, pulled it off the policy, put this car on. And what's cool is that this car came from North Carolina, and from what I was told by the previous owner, North Carolina registrations are registered to the car only, not to the car and the driver as they are in Florida, which means I essentially had valid registration until March. So cool, didn't have to register the car. However, that's coming up soon, so that might change. So let's go ahead, let's take it for a little spin around town. You know, nothing crazy. And maybe I'll do a couple of pulls. So these cars aren't very fast. Like third gear tops out at like 80 miles an hour. It has 140 horsepower, but where this car really excels is in its handling performance, its cornering, and it's just absolutely incredible. So this car weighs like 2,300 pounds. My 240SX weighed about 3,000 pounds. The SL 550 in front of me probably weighs like 4,500 pounds. So you get an extremely light and agile chassis, and you don't need a lot of power. Fun. And this is the I like to call this the vehicular, the automotive equivalent of a scooter, right? So with a scooter, like a 50cc scooter or a 100cc scooter, you can get the experience of driving on a motorcycle, right? Like having two wheels and going through turns and accelerating on two wheels, but at much lower risk, because when it's more fun, because with the motorcycle you actually have to ride it like it's a motorcycle, because that's what it is. You know, you have to be careful with your turns, you have to be careful with how much you're leaning, and how much throttle you're applying, especially with very powerful motorcycles. But with the scooter, it's got a CVT transmission. It's 50cc, it's tiny, and the suspension is very, forgiving. So you don't actually need a ton of power to have fun, and that's the advantage of this car. That's what this car is all about. What's also really nice is the parking. Parking this car is stupid easy. So, this car is super easy to heel toe. I can't really demonstrate because I can't really go fast enough to reasonably heel toe. Because in order to heel toe, you've got to apply braking pressure and then shift your foot over to hit the throttle. And the problem is with doing it on the street is that you can never go fast enough, because you start applying braking pressure. By the time you need to downshift, it's like you're almost stopped. So I'll try. So I start braking. Look at that. Third to second was like nothing. It's like so easy. Now, being a big guy, the steering wheel does get in my way, so I'm probably gonna get like an aftermarket, maybe like a flat bottom steering wheel. so that as I'm shifting, it gets less in the way. It's kind of annoying. This is just too much fun, seriously. So here's the problem with Florida, right? Florida is all flat. We don't have turns. We have maybe like the occasional, you know, go through a right turn fast kind of thing. But that's it. Like we don't have the Pacific Coast Highway. But what we do have, we kind of have a few cool on-ramps. So maybe I can go through one of those fast. But what's surprising is that even though it's the stock suspension, even though I'm on some Chinese Prisa 420 treadwear tires, it's fine. It doesn't oversteer, it doesn't understeer. It's very communicative, and I'm going through the turn doing things that I'm just like, how is this possible? If I did this in the Mustang, or if I did this in my 240SX, the tires would be screaming for help, and it's perfectly fine. It doesn't, it just takes it, and I go through the corner a little faster, and it takes it. So here we are doing 50. I feel like I can go faster too. Like, it's absurd. It's absolutely absurd how fast this car takes corners. And now I'm in traffic. Welcome to South Florida. Enjoy your stay. Alright, so I think I'm just going to end the video here, stuck in traffic while I return to home base. So, as I'm sure you guys know, Miata is always the answer. This car is absolutely incredible. And believe it or not, it's already sold. So I've had the car since a couple of months. I've driven it for about a month. And I have a friend of mine, and he needs a car. So you know what? I'm hooking him up. So I bought the car for $1,200. I've put about $500 in maintenance to it. So it's got brand new tires, belts, oil change, coolant flush, brake fluid flush, brake pads. I mean, the works. This car has gotten the works done to it, and you know, it's nice to have it. I was planning on putting a roll bar in it, tracking the car, but you know what, at the end of the day, a friend of mine needs help, and if I ever got the capacity to help him out, then I will. So I have sold it to him for essentially what I paid for it. We agreed on a price of $2,000, so I figured, you know, I'll make a modest profit of $300. And I'm pretty sure that I've actually gone over my $500 maintenance budget, and I'm probably about breaking even, to be honest. But you know what? I'd rather help out a friend in need, which I'm sure will always pay you back tenfold, you know? So, thank you guys for watching. Hope you subscribe. If you like that, you know, leave a comment. Give me a like on the video. Let me know how I can improve. If you have any questions, comments, you know, whatever. So, catch you guys later. Have fun. Bye.